and honor their students. So Ms. Ostrowski, the floor is yours.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is indeed a fun night to celebrate student success and achievement. And we are grateful for Ms. Sarah Steinmetz from Abraham Lincoln High School, who makes sure we know about these accomplishments and make sure that folks are notified so they can be here to accept this recognition. This recognition is courtesy of the Board of Education and our Council of Schools Foundation, who provides funding for us to create these awards to recognize students, and we're very proud of that partnership, so thank you. Through college-level courses and exams, advanced placement provides motivated and academically prepared students with the opportunity to earn college credit and stand out in the college admissions process. We will be hearing, I think you heard more about the advanced placement at the last meeting, didn't you? So this is a nice follow-up to that. Many of these 17 honorees this year, or their parents, will be accepting these awards, and they're joined also by Mrs. Bridget Bellows, the principal of Abraham Lincoln High School. So we'll invite each student to come forward as I call your name. Superintendent Dr. Murillo may present you with the Star Award, and parents, as the awards are presented to your child, please stand so we can recognize you for your support of your students. Yes, please. This first group of students achieved the designation of AP Scholar, receiving scores of 3 or higher on 3 or more AP exams. The first two are graduate Ariana Bagley, represented by her parents. Graduate Sam Killian, accepted by his little sister Cassie. And I did the graduates first here. Graduate Brianne McDermott, represented by her parents this evening. Senior Jacob Brady. Junior Jeremiah Dogan. Junior Molly Higgins. Junior Ethan Lynan. Yes. Junior Rolando Martinez Rico. Senior Jordan Moling. Junior Milo Nordman. Senior Riley Pope. Junior Caitlin Weber. We're not done yet. The following students earned the designation of AP Scholar with honors for receiving an average score of at least 3.25 on all AP exams and scores of 3 or higher on 4 or more of these exams, if that makes sense. Okay, Junior Tucker Kane. Junior Daniel Fitch. And Daniel will be accepting his brother, who's a graduate, Caleb Fitch's honor as well. Junior Kayla Whitworth. And then finally tonight, one senior has earned the designation of AP Scholar with Distinction for receiving an average score of at least 3.5 on all AP exams and scores of 3 or higher on 5 or more of these exams. Sarah King, would you please join us to be recognized? I'm done with that group.
So at this time, the students could not be here without the support that you provide them. So if you are a parent or a grandparent that's here with them this evening, would you stand so we can honor you? Thank you. And then Daniel's gonna organize, right? I'm gonna let you do your job. I always have to go to the back. Okay.
Card or no? I think you let it take a picture of it. These are ours.
Oh, this is, I need a picture of this.
Log in using it. Ooh, don't show my face. Oh, sorry, talking back here.
Oh, I love the smiles.
One, two, three. One more. One, two, three.
Get it? So, what do we do with these cards? They're ours now?
Right?
We have ACT too, real quick, and we've got her right here. She gets to stay. Congratulations again to all of you for this accomplishment, and we look forward to seeing you juniors back here, and even seniors or your parents here on another recognition next year. If you will, I'm going to honor one other student tonight. Well, actually, it's her second honor for the evening. We'd like to recognize Ms. Molly Higgins again. Her second honor tonight is that she has received a perfect subtest score of 36 for her English on the ACT. We are very proud of you, Molly. Congratulations.
One, two.
Mom and Dad.
You can just push it for me.
Oh my gosh, oh yeah, then we want to do it again.
I would think she was a senior. Junior, wow, congratulations, that's great. He is
These were all AEL students. Well, it's always a good time to be able to recognize students for their accomplishments, and we really appreciate the parents and their families in supporting their students. Congratulations, and next up we have our informational presentation regarding the Human Resources 3-year plan.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to invite Mr. Milborn to the podium. He is going to present to us this evening the 3-year action plan he has for our human resources. I am really been excited about the time and the work and the collaboration and the collective leadership that I see Mr. Milborn bringing to our HR department. And so I look forward to the presentation tonight, and I think the board may have a lot of good questions for him, and I think you're also going to receive a lot of good information. So, Mr. Milbourne, the floor is yours.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to present HR's exciting vision and strategies for the next 3 years of our action plan. Before we begin, I think it's important to reflect on our HR mission and vision. When I joined the team 9 months ago, I really challenged our team to think about why does our department exist and how we're going to operate each and every single day. So we landed on our mission as a team is select, support, and develop. Select one more employee like our best, support all of our employees through multiple structures, and develop all of our employees to reach and achieve more. The second piece of that would be our values. We're going to ask every employee in the district how we're doing on these values. We reflect on them at every HR meeting. Are we living these values? And that was the 4 items here of always acting in a trustworthy manner, always acting in a timely manner, always acting in a transparent manner, even though sometimes decisions are tough, being very open and transparent about that and involving people early in the process, and always, always, always acting in a respectful manner. Coupled with that mission and vision is the charge that Dr. Murillo has given us as a cabinet is always thinking about schools are at the center of our work. So as we started articulating actions and strategies and goals for the next 3 years, we wanted to frame those with schools are the center of our work. So with that, kind of have a visual of our schools here. I'm going to present to you our 4 strategies that kind of wrap around our schools. So our 4 strategies in our 3-year plan. Strategy number 1, implement effective processes, and I will go through all of these in detail in a moment. Strategy number 2, strategic staffing. Strategy number 3, provide professional learning and training for every employee. And 4, implement culture, safety, and wellness initiatives. So when we're thinking about strategy number 1, which are those effective processes, we're really thinking about becoming more efficient and more timely in our interactions in HR. So really, our action steps really involve becoming electronic. One of the most challenging issues in HR is information. There's information in this computer base, there's information in this file, and it's about streamlining that information, making the systems work together, eliminating waste, and being more efficient and more accurate as we move on. So some of those action steps up there, onboarding, contracts, W-2, wage statements, moving all that to an electronic process. If you think about onboarding in the past at Council Bluffs, the employees came in, they wrote down their name, their address, their social security number on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 forms. This year they came in, put that on one electronic form, it fed through everything and went right into our system. So making that the user experience more friendly and more efficient as well. If you think about W-2s in the past, we printed all of those W-2s, labeled all those envelopes, folded them, stuffed them, mailed them. Now we'll be sending all those out electronically. People will be able to file earlier, get rebates earlier, things like that. So it's really about becoming more efficient and more timely and having all of our systems work together. So just a little update on some things that we have done so far. We've completed some things. We began to automate our system. So our time and attendance is starting to talk to our payroll system in a really efficient manner right now, where before there was some manual data entry there. We delivered our employee handbook through a software called Frontline Central. Last year we printed 1,200 employee handbooks, had every employee sign the paper, principal collected all the paper, sent that back to HR so we could do compliance. This year we sent it to them, it showed up in their inbox. They clicked the button that they acknowledged they received it, and I can see every employee that has acknowledged it and who hasn't. So it's about becoming quicker and more efficient there. I mentioned the onboarding processes for new employees. We've designed some new systems in our Frontline Central software to monitor all of our compliance. We have lots of compliance that the state makes us do, and also to comply with grants. So we're talking about different endorsements, certificates, training modules. Right now, all that is in different files. Eventually, all that will go up into one system where we can just pull up the person and see everything. So we've just created that process. We're going to begin uploading those documents in the next few weeks. And then this is one I'm really excited about. It's kind of a nerdy HR thing, but it's the personnel action request, which we call PARs. Those are going to be electronic by November. So anytime an employee moves, or we transfer employee, or we recommend an employee, all that will be electronic, and it'll feed into our HR system and our payroll system. So we're very excited about those actions we've completed. We have 3 major goals around this strategy, and they're all in the year 2022. 95% of our ratings from our HR customer experience will be positive. So if we're being more timely and more efficient, we should be getting a better customer experience rating. 2022, 100% employee data will be electronically accessible. And then also 100% of personnel files will be electronic. So those are pretty ambitious, but we are going after it as much as we can right now at the moment, and we've made really good progress in the 9 months of the department. Strategy number 2 is strategic staffing, and this is really about recruiting and staffing our schools with the highest quality instructors. Our action steps around that would be implementing some more proactive recruiting tools. Once again, we have a frontline software that allows us to proactively find people's certificates, ask them, hey, would you like to come work for us? Increasing our social media campaigns, so partnering with our already strong brand and leveraging that. Using our total rewards package. A lot of times we sell our salary is very good in Council Bluffs, but we also have excellent leave. We also are going to have an excellent wellness initiative. We have lots of things that we can sell, and we can sell that as a total package. Explore more non-traditional pathway teachers. So for example, if we need a German teacher, we can actually explore someone that is fluent in German, and if they pass the test, they can get licensed by the state of Iowa to teach them. And then continuing those higher education relationships. Number 2 is that grow your own process. With the teacher shortage that is kind of hitting the United States, less students are enrolling in college prep programs. We're creating less teachers collectively as a nation. We have to start thinking about how to grow our own. So thinking about pipeline for leadership, for principals and other leaders in our district. We're exploring some para-educator cohorts. We have many wonderful pairs in our district that are interested in becoming teachers, and we've partnered with some universities about some possible pathways that we could support them in that endeavor. And then also a student pathway to education. Dr. Borthman talked to you at the last board meeting about D+1 opportunities, and I'm really tugging on his shoulder saying, can we add a teacher pathway too, so those kids come back to Council Bluffs and want to be teachers where they went to school. So we're really exploring that. And then the last part would be some leave practices. A lot of employees have asked about, are there possible ways to donate leave or to buy back unused leave? And when you're thinking about staffing, absenteeism and leave all plays in that as well. So we're going to explore some items around that. Things we've completed thus far. We've created a substitute cohort with Iowa Western. So people apply for that, and we pay for them to go get a sub authorization. And then once we pay for that, they sign an agreement and say, we'll sub for you 60 times this year to kind of pay you back for doing that. So we've had 17 people in that, which we're really proud of. It's 17 more subs than we had last year, so we're starting to tick away at that. Last year we held some student-teacher celebrations, and we have those scheduled this year. So really just wrapping our arms around the student-teachers, saying thank you for interacting with our kids, and how about exploring Council Bluffs is a great place to work. I started working with Mark and Julie about articulating our philosophy for those the principal pipeline and leadership pipeline, and then continue to work with Buena Vista and UNO to increase our brand awareness. I was at UNO today speaking to on a panel of HR directors speaking to student teachers this afternoon. So our goals around strategic staffing, 2022, 80% of students will be proficient on the MAP reading and math test. So we know that quality employees and quality instructions impact learning, and so our student achievement goals aren't just teaching and learning in the schools, they're HR's goals as well. Number 2, this number's low. If you ask me what it would look like about 8 years from now, I'll set that goal higher. But right now, 35% of our teachers will come from grow your own strategies. In 2030, I'd like that to be around 45, 50%. And then the last one, 90% of new teachers hired will meet the Iowa teaching standards at the end of 2 years. And so that's an internal check that says, are our HR processes working? Are we hiring the right people? Are they qualified? Are they meeting the state standards and the Council Bluffs standards at the end of 2 years with the support we're providing? Number 3 is around professional learning. We do a wonderful, wonderful job of providing professional learning for teachers in Council Bluffs. It's one of our strongest suits. This is around providing professional learning and training for all other employees. So when we look at that, we want to engage our paraeducators, our custodians, our admins, our SAMs, our substitutes, in more professional learning opportunities. Things we've done this year with that, we revised a mandatory training and compliance matrix for all the employee groups. So there are some training opportunities that come from compliance, which is great. We modified our orientation and our initial training schedule. So in the past, if let's say a paraeducator was hired and they went through orientation on Thursday, they'd be in school on Friday. Now we're providing some more training for, depending on the circumstance. So they'll receive a lot of training before they even interact with kids, which we're really excited about to prep them to be successful. A really big one is aligning job descriptions with the interview tool, with the evaluation process, with the professional learning. All of those things should line up, and they do line up really, really well for our teachers. And so we're taking that on for all employee groups over the next 3 years. Some professional learning, we've trained some of the finance team members and HR team members on our new software, and they got some certifications in that, which we're excited about. And then Melissa Chalupnik and Dr. Vorthman implemented the professional learning tool for teachers as well that we're implementing this year. So that's been really great. Our goals around that, 100% evaluations will be aligned to the job description and the professional learning sequence. 100% of employees will participate in at least 5 professional learning opportunities this year. And 100% of employees will be electronically evaluated on their agreed upon cycles. So right now, this year, we just have teachers being evaluated through the electronic system. We want to move all employees over. Last one, culture, safety, and wellness. Our culture one, we talked about the climate survey and the workplace satisfaction survey for buildings. That was teachers and staff. We're implementing that for facilities and maintenance, nutrition, and ESC. And so in December, we'll be giving that survey as well, and then taking that information and deciding next steps. Around safety, we continue to work with United Heartland to identify and assess where areas of concern are, and work in a proactive manner with education and more training. And then wellness is probably the thing we're most excited about this year, is implementing. Last year, we sent a survey out and said, what would you like to see from a wellness program? And we had like 500 people respond, I think, and we took that information and developed our wellness ideas. So this is a little sneak peek that is coming out of the big idea of our wellness. If you look at the top there, of those 4 icons, we have 4 domains for our wellness program. Physical activity, stress reduction, financial wellness, and weight loss. And that was based on employee feedback. And so we've partnered with multiple people in the community to provide these things. Financial wellness, we're partnering with TS Bank. They're coming in and providing some workshops for employees that are close to retirement and employees that are earlier in their career. We've done some financial fitness challenges where teachers can get online and do some modules with financial fitness. Weight loss, we've partnered with a company called Real Appeal, and they you sign up for it, you get like a coach, they send you meal plans, they send you DVDs. It's pretty exciting. Stress reduction, we've partnered with some community members to do some mindfulness workshops, managing stress workshops. And then physical activity, we are in the research phase of that, and we're going to launch that in January. But basically, we have some people presenting to us about connecting with people's smart devices. They can upload their data, and we can kind of gamify physical activity and create some challenges across the district in that sense. So that's our big wellness initiative there. Other things we've done, we've organized the workplace satisfaction survey, and like I said, that'll be happening in December for all groups, and then continue partnering with United Heartland around the safety initiatives. Goals, 2022, 60% employees will utilize a wellness offering in one of the 4 areas. 2022, decrease employee workplace injuries by 25%. We've decreased those over the last 3 years, so we just want to follow that trend, keep that momentum. And increase favorable responses by 10% on the climate section of the culture survey, which we haven't given that yet. So once we get that data in December, we'll have that baseline. And then very quickly, last board meeting, I think it's 2 board meetings ago, we talked about our 4 district goals. And I just think it's important to tie our human resource strategies back to the 4 district goals. So if you think about that goal number 1 of increasing student achievement, our strategies, strategic staffing, professional learning, and that culture, safety, wellness support us increasing student achievement. High quality staff, good professional learning, and safe environments. Number 2, making that post-secondary escapable, that D+1. Our strategies support that as well, basically in the same vein. Number 3, our master's facility plan. You think about how we staff for that and how we train. Our employees will help with that. And then lastly, that social emotional wellness piece for our students. We want to provide that for our staff as well. And that is our 3-year plan. So, questions?
Questions from the board?
Have we established a community partner for wellness, like for gym memberships for discounts?
We do provide a discount to the YMCA.
Okay. I was just curious about that.
But the piece for wellness this year will be that physical
Okay. Is there a pathway for D+1 for paras?
Big question.
I'm sorry, I had to ask. You can get back to me if you want. Just curious. I mean, we have it for nursing, so I didn't know.
I think the education vein, and one of the models we're looking at is when students are doing their internship, they could be doing some para work, and that's kind of how you embed them in the field. And then as they go from there, it kind of depends on what their studies.
But you are doing some work with our paras that want to become teachers,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
And that's
Not
a,
students that want to be paras.
right.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're very excited for hearing the plan, and we look forward to many return trips.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. With that, we move on to our resolution portion of the board meeting. First up is a resolution requesting the supplemental state aid for the 18-19 special education budget. Is there a motion?
I can move the Council Bluffs Community School District request allowable growth and supplemental aid payment for the special education deficit of $1,881,120.31 in the 2018-2019 school year.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, Mr. Wilson, would you call the roll for the resolution that approves the request for supplemental state aid for the 18-19 special education deficit?
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Next up is the 2021, 20 and 21 budget guarantee. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the 1% budget guarantee request and may levy property tax for fiscal year 2021 for the regular program budget adjustment as allowed under section 257.14 Code of Iowa.
Second?
Thank you. Motion and a second. Any discussion?
So I guess from the numbers that we had seen for projected that are fluctuating daily, Would that be more or less than 1% if that's the number that gets locked in that we saw?
It'd be more.
But this gives that.
That
Minimum
guarantee?
guarantee.
Okay.
Hearing no further discussion, Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll for the resolution that gives us a budget guarantee for the 2021 school year?
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Before us next is lease extension with Midwest Office Automation. Is there a motion?
I'll move to approve extension of the current lease agreement with Midwest Office Automation by 1 year.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Did we put this out for bid? Or we just go back to them with, to extend?
Mr.
Curious.
Dave?
Heck of a deal, so it's like to me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Arthur, can you repeat your
Yeah,
question?
I mean, this was not a, we didn't put this out for bid, it was just an extension of the current contract.
Correct. We're going to extend the lease by 1 year. We're extremely satisfied with the service that's been provided by this organization, both the service on the machines and the quality of the machines as well. They offered us an opportunity to extend by 1 year, reducing our costs and also gaining some extra functionality that we'll be using in our copy center. So we'll save over $20,000 and have added functionality.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no further discussion, we'll move to the roll, to the vote. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll for the lease extension with Midwest Office Automation?
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Next is an update for job descriptions.
Move to approve the job descriptions as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Were these just rewrites of that to align with our new stratas? Our new chief of schools,
new-
blah, 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 okay.
No, this is to align with the new evaluation
Okay.
and the work that Gary's doing, so that, remember when he talked about the job description didn't necessarily align with what the job they were doing or how we evaluated?
Mhm.
This is start that alignment that Mr. Miller was talking about.
Back to that tool.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no further discussion. We'll move to the vote. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll regarding updated school job descriptions?
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Next up is an attendance and payment related to the Iasb convention this November.
I move that the board authorized payment for the attendance of the ISB convention November 20th and 21st.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move forward with the vote. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll for the approval of payment related to the expenses for Council Bluffs Community School District board members who attend the IASB convention this November?
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres? Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Next up is delegate for the assembly. Is there a motion?
I'll move to select John Minshaw as the representative from the Council Bluffs Community School District IASB Delegate Assembly.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Any discussion?
You good with that, John?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Thank you.
Yeah, nice. Very good.
Thank you very much. As we move to the vote, Mr. Wilson, would you please take the roll regarding Mr. Minshaw being our delegate for the Delegates Assembly at the IASB convention?
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Before us now is the resolution for the 2019-2020 depository resolution.
Yeah, I can move that we set the maximum depository resolutions at American National Bank at 60 million.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none?
Excuse me, we have other banks that we have money in?
We
don't
have,
to do-
we have money in that TELF program, but you approved that back in May.
So we're okay with
Yes.
that, it's okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Okay. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll for the resolution approving the 2019-2020 depository resolution?
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
And Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Before us now, we have an agreement for an easement.
I would move to approve the access easement agreement with Woodsonia as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Just that little bit of land, right? Like, so, yeah. I think it's fine.
Do we have any idea what they want to use the space in the back of is it the side of the Kern building for?
A win.
So what they would use it
Right.
for is just egress to get back there in case they have
Oh.
to get back there,
Yeah. Okay.
so.
So during construction.
And we need
or-
that space just for
No,
our
it's not
buses, right?
construction, it's just to get back behind the building if they have to get back behind the building.
Okay.
So then also during construction, the bus turnaround, they'll
Correct.
account for that?
Yes, during our construction, we want to ensure that, that we have space to get our buses in and out in the turn. And with this, you saw the map last board meeting, and this puts the, kind of the contract in place with the map. It's just to ensure that there is a turnaround in front of the building and that they have access to the small portion in the back of the building. So it's kind of a trade-off for each other, that they guarantee that for us.
If there's no further discussion, we'll move to the vote. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll regarding an easement agreement with Woodsonia?
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
And Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Before us now, we have our consent agenda, and we do have a correction ahead of the vote regarding the members on the Facilities Committee. This has been corrected this afternoon to
Mr.
accurately.
Kazire, I think we missed a couple.
Did we?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, we have I and J left.
I'm looking through the bottom instead of the top of my trifocals, so,
I and J.
Excuses,
Thank you.
excuses.
well, I got to come up with something. It's not good to say I'm tired. Okay, yes, we do have the Kern Kitchen Equipment bid.
Move to approve Buller Fixture Company as the winning bidder for kitchen equipment at Kern Middle School with a cost of $153,874.
Thank you very much. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
I guess there's no documentation attached with this item. Normally there's contracts and other information.
That's an oversight on my part. I thought I had attached it. I obviously did not.
Would you feel better if we had the documents? And then is this something that can be,
Yes, of course.
okay, so this is not something that we need to decide tonight if we don't feel comfortable without having the documents in front of us?
I can probably look it up here in a moment if you want me to, and give you the information.
Throw it up there.
I don't know if I can throw it up there, but I could find it.
Okay. Well,
We have to approve it right tonight to have it be whatever
I
Sorry,
don't think you
order.
have to approve it tonight, no.
There's a lead time on the equipment that we're going to be in jeopardy of, or?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I know that we want to ensure that we don't delay the project at all, but,
Can we take a few minutes and let Mr. Wilson speak?
Sure,
My
we'll,
could you
No,
ask
don't call Lisa
Mr.
yet.
Kringer?
I'll get it here real
if,
quick.
Maybe make
So-
sure he can cast it. Would you ask me to help him?
okay,
Sure.
so we'll come back to this, resolution.
So we go to J?
Go to Jay.
Yeah, why don't we?
J.
We need to have a resolution to set our public hearing. Is there a motion?
Move to direct the board secretary to set a public hearing on October 8th, 2019 regarding plans and specifications for renovations of Wilson Middle School.
Motion,
Second.
is there a motion and a second? Is there any discussion?
I think that's great.
Yes, and Mr. Myers has talked with several construction companies to see if they would bid that early on the project, and we've had a lot of good responses for that. We're worried if we wait too long that they'll take other jobs, and then we may not get the bids that we're looking for. So we'll do the public hearing, and then following that, we'll then go out to bid. We have you approve that in the following meeting, and then hopefully have it out to bid in November, with it coming back in December.
That'd be awesome.
That's good.
Okay, perfect.
And the same company that did Kern, are they available to do?
They are. They were the ones that, before we bid Kern, picked up other projects, which kind of brought this to our thought process that maybe we want to get out earlier instead of waiting.
Okay, before us now is a resolution to set a public hearing. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Ogres,
Yes.
Mr. Arthur,
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw,
Yes.
Mr. McGlade,
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla,
Yes.
Mr. Grove,
Yes.
and Mr. Kazire.
Yes, and the motion has been approved. Now we'll move to our consent agenda, and unless we're ready.
I need a minute.
Okay,
'cause
not a
I'm doing
problem.
both
We
here, so.
can still function here. There was an error that was found in the Facilities Committee. It was corrected this afternoon and placed in board docs, and it has to deal with names on the committee, I believe it was. So, yeah. So that's a correction to to that Facilities Committee document.
You want to talk at all about what we did earlier today with the
Sure.
plans
Um,
for the public?
Right. We had a wonderful time before our board meeting, during our work session today. We were able to meet each of our principals and to engage in conversations with them regarding their school improvement plans. And as Mr. Arthur pointed out, it was very, it was great to hear that there were common goals that each principal is working toward accomplishing. And I guess if any board member would wish to add something else, please do at this time. I know it was a great time to meet with our principals and have that opportunity to engage in conversations with them.
Mark, what were those 3 questions you had us answer?
Are you putting him on the spot?
Just curious.
Oh, he's got it.
No, I mean, at the end of it, you said, what was the themes,
The aha moment.
oh, they're right there. Okay, thank you.
I got
Great.
you.
Okay. Yeah, so some common themes you noticed.
One of the comments that I didn't bring up at the debriefing was, I was talking with one of the principals, and during their data consult at the end of the year, where they presented to all of the cabinet and to the other principals, the principal at Franklin, Jerry, indicated that she, after the data consult, she felt very comfortable in knowing that there was a cabinet member that she could go to if she had a problem, and not, and know that there's somebody that there is going to back her up and help her find a solution.
I just want to thank all the principals for taking time out of their busy lives and away from home to come here to visit with us, because I know that they are overworked and we don't thank them enough for what they do and the support that they have in their buildings. One of the things that kind of resonated with me was one of the schools telling me about voice, choice, and ownership, and how it's not just involved with the teachers and paras and staff, but it's also with the students, and so they make it very transparent for them to be aware of that. And one of the other buildings that principals that I talked to had mentioned that every morning over the loudspeaker, they mention what their goal is. And so the students are aware of it every morning. So it's taken on as their own personal responsibility as well. So good things going on in our buildings.
I'd like to suggest that maybe Diane works with our press to really have some really good articles on the trauma-informed care, because that was a big theme that the principals shared tonight. And I don't think our community is really aware of that.
And the
A lot of schools are
outcomes-
going to that, and it's a good deal.
Positive outcomes that are happening because of it.
Yeah.
I spoke with a few principals who, in talking about the trauma-informed care and how it's really changed, changed the minds of teachers about, you know, and really sort of challenge them to think differently when they see, you know, children that are struggling in a classroom, or, you know, struggling with handling some of their some of the emotions and things like that. And I was talking with one of the principals about the things that we've been spending so much time talking about this year as a board, and the common theme kind of being that all students can have the ability to learn at a high level. And I really feel like that the things that they're doing with self-awareness and emotional regulation and trauma-informed care, it might be doing something to help reinforce the belief across the district that all kids can learn at a high level. That just might look really different, you know, for every kid, and sort of challenge you to think about where some of those struggles and challenges with children are coming from.
Okay. I think we are. Mr. Wilson has on our screen the
And,
information.
yes, and it's maybe a little difficult to read. I know I can't read it from here, but Buller Fixture came in with a bid of $153,874. IS Restaurant Design was second at $156,143, and Trimark at $160,050. And then you can see inside the components of their bids. But overall, Buller was the least expensive option for us, and Lisa Stewart is recommending that we go with the Buller option.
They all had kind of the same specifications, right?
They all had the same specs, and Lisa did say that they all bid to the specs. They just have different pricing for those different areas.
No alternatives.
No
No
alternatives.
alternates.
Correct. She said they all bid to it, and she was satisfied with all the bids that were received.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. If we are ready for the vote for the,
We need to do the motion. I apologize because it went away when I left
Okay.
it, so.
so we have,
Move to approve Fern Kitchen Equipment bid, Bowler Fixture Company at Kern Middle School with a cost of $153,874.
thank you.
I don't
Second.
remember.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll regarding the resolution for the Kern kitchen equipment bid?
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
And Mr. Kazire?
Yes, and the motion has been approved. And now we'll bring up our consent agenda. In the consent agenda, we have several items. The approval of our committee appointments, 2019-2020 Council Bluffs Chamber of Commerce dues. We have the approval of the evaluation and testing program. And we'd like to gratefully acknowledge the gift of 12 Chromebooks from the city of Carter Lake to the kindergarten and first grade classes at Carter Lake Elementary School. We have several special education contracts. We have the 2019 August purchase card activity, personnel agenda items, vendor payments, and the financial statements for August 2019. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to the vote. Mr. Wilson, would you please call the roll regarding our consent agenda?
Mr. Arthur?
Yes.
Mr. LaFurla?
Yes.
Mr. Grove?
Yes.
Dr. Ogres?
Yes.
Mr. Minshaw?
Yes.
Mr. McGlade?
Yes.
Mr. Kazire?
Yes. And with that, the motion has been approved and our business is complete and we are adjourned.